All right, going to talk about South Carolina quarterback commit, Nolan, the former Ohio State quarterback, entered the transfer portal and is now committed to South Carolina. I'm going to talk about a few reasons that stand out to me, at least from my perspective, of why he chose South Carolina. Then talk about him as a player, what he brings to the table. And South Carolina fans, we literally just put out a Lenore Sellers video previewing what we want to see from Sellers against Illinois for the upcoming bowl game. So we do put out a lot of South Carolina quarterback content. So if you like that type of content, please consider subscribing. So a few things stand out to me when it comes to Nolan committing to South Carolina. The number one thing, though, is he's okay with not starting. It's his long-term mindset. Like that's what kind of surprised me in today's day and age is, every quarterback is hitting the transfer portal to go start somewhere. So, at Ohio State, Howard is leaving, so it's going to be a competition between him and Julian Sayin. Maybe Sayin already has the upper hand, whatever it may be. And so he goes and enters the transfer portal. So most kids would be looking for someone they can start right away. Well, I thought Nolan, at least from my perspective, he has a long-term mindset. He's okay with going and sitting. He's okay with going and developing. If he's not going to start this year. He's going to be behind Sellers, but that's worth it to him. Then go into another program. You can probably go and be the starter. So the long-term mindset kind of shows his maturity, at least to me, from the outside looking in. I don't really know much, but just that perspective tells me he has that long-term mindset. And the last kind of standout takeaway of why he chose South Carolina is he saw the success, he saw the season that Lenore Sellers had. He wants to go be developed like Sellers was developed this year. Sellers set for a year, then he starts this year. So the thought process is, Sellers has another big year, goes to the NFL. Nolan learns from Sellers, learns from just the offensive staff in South Carolina. Then he takes over after Sellers leaves. He has a big year. He goes to the NFL. That's probably his mindset there, right? So that's the mindset. Now Nolan takes over from Sellers after Sellers leaves. And then something else that people probably just have fun playing for South Carolina. He probably sees some enjoyment. Why wouldn't you want to play for Shane Beamer from the different stuff that we just hear and see? Now, whether that's true or not, but there's a reason why he's committing. There's a reason why I think South Carolina had a lot of success. So those are the things that stand out of why I think Nolan committed to South Carolina. He's okay with sitting. He's a long-term mindset. He saw the success that Sellers had, and he wants to go and have that success and be developed, so he's okay with learning and growing and taking over the reins next year, right? Again, maybe I'm completely wrong. That's just me putting myself in that kind of frame space, right? Now, as far as Nolan goes, what does he bring to the table? So I trained a few quarterbacks, some higher-end quarterbacks who were in the Elite 11. One made the finals, and one was in the kind of the broader scope Elite 11 competitions. And so I had some familiarity with Nolan last year because they were in the same class. Talented quarterback. So if we look at 247, they ranked him as the 7th rated quarterback nationally. I think On3 was maybe 5 or so, but regardless, you're in that 5, 6, 7 range, depending what recruiting service that you look at. So what is he as a player? So obviously we haven't seen him, at the college level yet, just being the backup at Ohio State. But in high school, he did put up big numbers. Obviously, he was a huge recruit, 7th quarterback in the 247 class. He's not as big or as fast or as athletic as Sellers is, but at the same time, not many players in general are. But he has enough athleticism to utilize his legs when needed to. It's enough athleticism to scare the defense, or they have to plan for it. And he's big enough. He's 6'2", $192. So Sellers is a much bigger player. But he's big enough, he's young, he can grow and develop that. He's got natural arm talent, and again, he's a good enough athlete. 247 compares him to Michael Penix, which I think is probably a good comparison. Again, I've only seen his high school tape, so I've broken down some high school tape before. I take it with a grain of salt. I'm not doing any clips this video, but if you want to go ahead and check it out, go to 247 or On3 or Huddle, or you could find his tape anywhere. But here's what 247 talked about or said about Nolan coming out of high school. So, and this is just quotes, I'll kind of run through some of them. It said, still has one of the more impressive on-field resumes in the 2024 cycle. Over 10,000 yards passing, 126 touchdowns over the course of 4 seasons. Loves to pick apart defenses from the pocket and doesn't take long to process. That's exactly what we saw from Sellers at the end of the season, the second half of the season. If you go back and watch the video I just put on over Sellers, you'll see him reading the defense, going through progressions quickly, getting the ball out quickly. So it's great that no one can come in and learn from that. Natural arm talent, flashed multiple times during in-person evaluations, as he has the pace to get balls out to the numbers and touch to drop them into coverage, right? That's what it means, where he has the ability to rip it if he needs to across the field, or some touch, some good feel on his balls to throw it over the defense. Elusive enough to get away from trouble and can move the chains every now and then with his legs. Likely going to need a development year or two, but has early round NFL draft upside, especially with his business-like mindset. That was Andrew Ivins from 247, who puts out really good stuff. So that's kind of the 247, breakdown of Aaron Nolan. So just to wrap up Aaron Nolan and what he brings to the table: natural arm talent, can make any throw from the high school perspective, and athletic enough to move the chains where you have to at least account for him. And what South Carolina probably saw was a quarterback with a ton of upside, a quarterback with some similar traits to Sellers, while maybe not as athletic as him. If for something was to happen, you want to have a quarterback behind your backup that you can fit in without changing the offense completely. I think that's why they brought in Robbie Ashford last year. Now, his upside obviously wasn't as high. He's more like a stop, kind of fill the gap type role. But he was an athletic quarterback where you didn't have to change the offense completely. So I think that's what you have with Aaron Nolan, where you don't have to change the offense completely, but you have a quarterback you can develop, a quarterback that can take the reins next year after Lenore Sellers is done. So South Carolina fans, I do want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. One, why do you think Nolan chose South Carolina? Again, I talked about, I think he's okay with sitting. I think he wants to learn and grow. He saw the success Sellers had, and he wants to go and have that success. He's got that long-term mindset. And then two, what do you think he brings what do you think he brings to the table? Now, I've watched some of his clips and I'm familiar with him from high school, but it's still kind of unknown. But go off his high school clips and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, we put out a lot of SEC quarterback content. We put out a ton of Sellers content this past year. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Like the video, share it, does help us grow. And we have a Sellers video out now that we just put out a few minutes before this video, breaking down the game against Illinois and what we want to see. So go check that video out. As always, thank you for subscribing. Like the video, share all that YouTube stuff. It helps us grow. We'll see you next time. Peace.